I'm Damian Nelson coming to you from the PWR remote studios, and I am joined by the opinionist and the superstar. Firstly, David Octavius, the Tiberius the Legend, backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge hardcore, Hall of Famer hero over there, and down yonder, one Shane Hurricane Helms. Boys, how we doing here on a Friday night after some smacky wacky?
Man, there's a lot of energy and enthusiasm in that one, man. I appreciate the energy.
It's like, are you smoking some smacky wacky? That's what I want to know. I mean, geez.
I don't understand.
Hey, hold on. Before we go any further, I'm a man of my word. I am wearing the official collar and elbow T-shirt, Planet of the Capes, the Shane Helms shirt, because I did, for entertainment purposes only, I lost last week. But
wow, that's monumental, Shane. He's never ever admitted that he lost at everything, and he just did it the first time.
I said for entertainment purposes only I lost.
But you said it. It's there. The bite is there.
Yeah. I'll retract it later, I'm sure. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it never happened, right? Thank you, Mr. Reagan. So thank you guys for joining us. We are live here. Oh, actually, we're not on Fight TV tonight. Normally we are. That is on Thursdays and Saturdays, but we are across all of our social media channels, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So thank you very much for joining us. This is one of my most entertaining and fun shows we do each and every time we do it, and that is Be The Booker. And what this is it's a fully interactive show because we are going to take a look at this weekend's WWE Backlash. And Dave and Shane will give you their fantasy booking, if you will, how they would book the show from a wrestler, superstar standpoint and from a booker and promoter standpoint. And then we will invite you, the audience, to do the same. Share with us via the comments on these pages, via our Twitter, via any form of social media. What do you think is going to happen? And the biggest part of why you think, or you telling us what you think is going to happen, is the why. And we will give you the why on this show so that we can be very, very clear when comes Sunday night after Backlash goes off the air and it wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever, that Dave's loss will be solidified.
Why is it about me losing? I don't understand that. Why can't Shane and I both win together at this?
If you had won the last two Be The Bookers since we've been doing them with Shane Hurricane Helms, you would have an entirely different argument.
To be fair, that was the preseason. Now it starts today. That was like me just getting warmed up, getting used to seeing how Shane does business.
Shane. Here's what he just did. By saying that was the preseason, he just said AEW and NXT are the junior leagues.
Yeah, they're the developmentals.
AEW is nobody's developmental.
No, NXT is the developmental.
But you just said both were the prelims.
No, I said preseason. Where you get your feet wet, you learn.
Well, let's get right down to it, folks. And again, go along with us. We're going to go match by match here. And there are some doozies on this Backlash show coming up Sunday on the WWE Network. The first one I want to talk about is for, I believe, the Smackdown Women's Tag Team Championships. It's going to be Bayley and Sasha, the current champions, going up against the team of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and the Iconics. So 6 women, again, much like we saw at NXT. However, this is 2-on-2-on-2 versus 3-on-3. Hurricane, what would you and why would you in this match?
I would put those titles on the Iconics, get them back going in. We've been down. Now, here's the thing. All 3 of these teams have been champions before. So Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, we've been down that path. Sasha Banks and Bayley, we've been down that path. And on the Iconics, we've been down that path before as well. However, I feel what SmackDown needs is entertainment. I think the Iconics are entertaining as hell. I don't think Bayley needs to be Bayley 2 belts any longer. They won them back. I would use this match to further the story between Bayley and Sasha Banks, get those belts on the Iconics.
Wow, the Iconics in a definitive sense, and the superhero pose to boot. Dave Hero from the Planet of the Capes.
I love the Iconics. I do. I think they're fantastic. I think that their promos are annoying. I think that the tone of the voice they use is over the top. And they're, like Shane said, they're extremely entertaining. And I would love to pick them to win. The only problem I have is they've never finished up the angle where they kind of slapped each other and they had the big fallout. That hasn't been fixed yet, so it's still there underlying. And then again, at the same time, you have Sasha and Bayley. You know that's just a powder keg waiting to go off, and you got to believe that maybe one or the other could cost them to lose the tag titles. And then you have Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. And a couple of years ago, Alexa Bliss, she was the flag bearer for the women's division. I mean, she could do no wrong. She had the great entrance. The fans loved her. She was over. She had the attitude. Nikki Cross, she's very solid. You wouldn't think it, but she's so good at what she does. Nikki Cross brings a lot to that. I mean, all three teams definitely could win. Iconics are my favorite tag team of the three. I would love to see them win, but I believe there is unfinished business there. Man, this is a hard one. I mean, Shane picked it so quick. It is. But I mean, just like which way do you go? You almost have to believe that Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are going to get the tag belts back, because they're really the only ones that don't have anything going on for themselves. There's already dissension with the Iconics. That could come to a head. You have Sasha and Bayley. That's going to eventually go off in the program. I think you put the tag belts back on Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross on Sunday at Backlash.
Is Nikki Cross any relation to Karrion Kross?
No, not even close. She's
sure?
a Viking. Positive.
All right. Well, Shane's got the Iconics. Dave Hero going with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. No matter what both of you want to see or would book it to see, Bayley and Sasha relinquish those championship belts. That's interesting going into Backlash on Sunday. Next match, and Dave, you get the first pick on this one. It is one that you have not spoken very favorably about publicly, and that is for the Universal Championship. The champion, Braun Strowman, will be defending against the tag team, but in an individual basis, in a handicap match, Miz and Morrison.
Yeah, it's just a match that you don't need to have on the show. I mean, I would rather them not have Braun Strowman defend the championship, because you go from beating Bray Wyatt to now you got Heckle and Jekyll. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know that Miz and Morrison aren't going to become the WWE Universal Champion. I mean, I'm sure it could be entertaining, because the only way that happens is for Bray Wyatt to come out to destroy both of them to win the title again. I mean, I would have much rather have seen Seth Rollins against Aleister Black on the show than see this match. I mean, it should be a no-brainer. It should be Braun Strowman easily over Miz and Morrison.
All right, Shane, what do you say about this matchup for the Universal Championship handicap match? Braun Strowman's title on the line.
I think the only way they put it on Miz and Morrison, I think the only argument you have that Miz and Morrison wins this match is that it's never been done before. We've never had the Freebird rule for one of the main single titles, SmackDown or Raw. We've never had that. That's the only argument. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think Braun continues to run over everybody. And I think for years, what people have complained about Braun is they start to give him the push and then they pull back on him. Well, don't pull back. Keep going. Let him destroy. I think Miz and Morrison have their moments. Yes, they can be entertaining, but if they want to add any kind of psychology to this match, there has to be something where they're a threat, where they show that they can be ass kickers, and they can be. But I think Braun goes over strong in this one.
Well, a rare moment of agreement between both Shane Helms and Dave Hero, both saying Braun Strowman retains his Universal Championship coming out of this handicap match. What does it mean for Miz and Morrison? You know, they've been in the Tag Team Championship tranches for quite a while now, going into this handicap match against Braun. We saw how we got there, but Dave, you mentioned Bray Wyatt still a player in this game. Are we going to see some shenanigans? I know you said, Dave, perhaps. But Shane, would you insert any shenanigans into this matchup to sort of explain it away?
I think there has to be a lot of shenanigans. Do all you can, and maybe this is something where there's a big stunt of some kind. I don't know what it might be. I mean, they had Braun turning over the van from last week. So maybe Miz and Morrison have concocted a game plan where they're going to try to create some scenario to trap Braun down and stuff like that. But I think Braun still overpowers it and, do something cool. I harken back to when, wasn't it Braun and Bobby Lashley that went through the Raw Titantron not too long ago? Who was that? I think they were fine like the very next day.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that you're going to see one of the two, Miz or Morrison. Probably Miz might be stretchered out because, when Braun Strowman beats both of them, that needs to be the end of it. So maybe you got to send one home for a little bit and let John Morrison finally get a little bit of a singles run on his own. And then let Miz come back later on so people can forget that they both lost, to Braun Strowman.
All right, well, the next matchup, Shane, you get the first volley on this one. It will be Asuka defending her Raw Women's Championship against Nia Jax.
I got Asuka. I think for me, that's an easy decision. I think you run with Asuka. I think she's been a star of Raw during this pandemic. She's been fantastic in every stretch of the imagination. Just everything they've asked her to do, she's knocked it out the park. I don't think you are slow her down right now. Maybe the mist comes into play. I don't know if she needs to just, destroy Nia Jax by any stretch. I think she needs to fight for it. But I think I would like to see Asuka coming out of this as the women's champion, remaining the women's champion.
Shane goes with Asuka. David Hero.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Asuka is going to she's going to have to be fighting quite a bit from underneath. I mean, she's going to have to earn this one because I expect a very physical match just because of how big and powerful Nia Jax is. It's good. I think the Mist is the best way to finish that off because it's the one way that Asuka can overpower Nia Jax is with that. I fully expect Nia Jax to cheat, lie, steal the entire match, and then Asuka finally coming out on top.
So question for the both of you, with Dave going with Asuka rather, right, Dave? I heard that correctly?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, question for both of you, because there's been a lot of discussion about it, yet we haven't talked about it, is this whole situation where those who end up on the opposite side of the ring with Nia Jax come out with some kind of injury in just about every matchup. To me, it seems like it's been planned, a work, if you will, but you guys are much closer to the business than I am. Shane, first, what's your assessment of this situation with Nia Jax and injuries in the ring?
I mean, she just needs more ring time. I mean, that's where that comes from. It's not like she's the strongest person to ever be in the ring. Like the injury to Kairi Sane, she literally threw her by the head, and Kairi Sane couldn't control herself because of how hard she was throwing. I've been in there with legit one of the strongest human beings to ever walk the earth, Mark Henry. He never hurt me. I've been in the ring with the Big Show. He never hurt me. Kane never hurt me. JBL, although that clothesline from hell looks to be a murderer, I still walked out fine. Yeah. I've been in there with legit, as I said, some of the strongest people to ever do this, and I was fine. I don't think it's intentional. I don't think it's any intent to be reckless, but when you're that strong, so you have to know your strength. That's a part of the deal, So I think it just comes down to that. There needs to be more in-ring training to make sure it doesn't happen anymore. And that being said, like I just mentioned, Kairi saying, don't be surprised if she gets involved in that match. I mean, if she's able to come back, I know she just has some stitches. They're still the Kabuki Warriors. Just because Asuka's kind of a baby face and it's, since Becky left, doesn't mean she has to be, Ricky Steamboat. They still can be the Kabuki Warriors.
So Shane, let me ask you this, because that's an interesting point you make, and the way I framed it was a bit differently, and maybe I wasn't clear. I thought it was a story. I thought it was a work, if you will, that there's no way Nia's injuring all these people legit and still being allowed to perform in that space without that additional training. If you say that's what she needs, you don't view this as part of any story or part of any way to make Nia look that much bigger or better or worse?
They're capitalizing on real life scenarios. They're capitalizing on something that's happened. The thing to Becky really happened. So you capitalize. I mean, injuries do happen in this in this business. Sometimes it just happens. That's how it is. We're not out there playing patty cakes as much as the pro wrestling detractors like to think. We get we get hurt all the time. So I think they're just running with it. It's unfortunate. It's it paints Nia in a bad light that she seems to be the one that has happened to a few times. But the Road Warriors used to just maul people.
Yeah,
I guarantee you the Road Warriors hurt more people than Nia Jax has.
Absolutely.
Well, but the question is,
if you go back
Nia
and watch
Jax,
some of those enhancement matches, go ahead.
Has Nia Jax hurt more other people than Ahmed Johnson hurt himself?
I don't think so. There's she just had a couple unlucky spots, and it happened to, and now there's more eyes, like insider eyes, more insider information. Like if this would have happened in the 80s, nobody would have given a shit.
Yeah.
There still would have been a talking to though. You can't be out there hurting top stars because we need to work next week.
Yeah.
So somebody really needs to, on the business end of WWE, step up to her and say, hey, you're stronger than all these people. Kairi Sane, I don't know what she weighs, 110 pounds. She's tiny. I could throw her across the ring, and when you're in there with somebody that's stronger than you, that person has the responsibility not to put you on the shelf for a month. Like I said, I've worked with very strong people. It can be done.
Absolutely. And you know what? If they don't use what happened with Kairi Sane, I think it's a missed opportunity where they show what happened, how Kairi Sane's been out injured, how Asuka now it's more of not only defending her title, but it's personal, to defend her friends on her. And they would be crazy to not have Kairi Sane at least come out to the ramp and cause a distraction for Nia Jax, where Nia Jax turns around, gets hit with the mist, and then the match is over.
Totally agree. Totally. If I was Kairi Sane, I would be begging him to use that footage. Yes, let's use this. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to get busted open hard way, as they say, use that. Let's use it. It was an accident, but let's run with it.
Yeah. Because it creates emotion, which makes the story that much better. And right now, there's a lot of matches on this card that don't have that emotion.
Well, speaking of emotion and thinking of stories that may...
How many people... I don't want to interrupt you, but think about this too. How many people in the business right now is anybody really afraid of? In the women's division, we have somebody that people should be afraid of. There's nobody really in the men's division that anybody's afraid of anymore. They're afraid of Nia Jax. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
Fair point for sure. Next matchup I want to talk about. Dave, you get the first pick on this one. Again, this is fantasy booking. This is how Dave Hero and Shane Hurricane Helms would book the action if they were in charge. If they weren't Paul Heyman in reference to Backlash this Sunday on WWE pay-per-view, how would they write that down with the pencil? And Dave, you get first shot at this next matchup, which is one we've talked about quite a bit. And we'll talk about more actually tomorrow night on primetime Saturday night, the Super Show. It's Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus.
You know what? There's not a whole lot I can really say about this match because Jeff Hardy needs to win. Just because he was made out to be the fool, he was made out to be the drunk, he was made out to be careless and reckless. He needs to get his revenge on the man that put him in that situation. And I fully expect it to be another physical match with the two of them because, Jeff's not afraid to take whatever. And Sheamus is a big, bruising brute. But I'm pretty confident Jeff Hardy's going to be leaving Backlash the victor in that match.
And that's also how you would book it.
Absolutely. You have to.
Dave would book Jeff Hardy to get the win in that matchup for all the reasons mentioned. Shane Helms, who would you book to win this match between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus?
This is a tough one. This is one of the tougher matches for me to pick here. I'm looking at Jeff Hardy. How many years does he have left? So do we capitalize it? Do we just capitalize as much as we can on what we have with Jeff Hardy and give him one last push? Or has that ship sailed and he needs to just keep putting people over? Because right now, SmackDown needs heels. So that means Sheamus needs wins. If Sheamus is going to, how many other people on that SmackDown roster can physically challenge Braun Strowman? Sheamus is one of the few. And
That's a good point.
if Sheamus is going to be the one to go to Braun Strowman, he's going to need a win over Jeff Hardy right here. So I'm looking if I'm booking Braun Strowman to win at Backlash, which I am, then I'm booking Sheamus to beat Jeff Hardy here, which I hate because he's my buddy. You know I love him, and so.
But
I think we got to run with Sheamus because we have to build challengers and Jeff is untouchable. Jeff can come back from this. I think no matter Jeff can lose 20 matches in a row, he's still going to be popular as hell. People are still going to love him. We can turn it around and he can get back there.
Yeah.
But we've got to build a credible threat for Braun Strowman.
All right. Well, Sheamus is who Shane would book to win. Dave would go with Jeff Hardy. First break in a couple matches there. Now let's go to the next match. And for this one, Shane, you get the first book on the matchup between Andrade and Apollo Crews, the U.S. Championship.
This is another tough one. I think Apollo Crews is a feel-good story here, so part of me wants to see that continue to run. We've been down this path with Andrade as the U.S. champion. It doesn't mean he can't win it for the third or fourth time. This was a bit of a toss-up. I think I'm going to go with Apollo retaining, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Zelina involvement and Andrade gets to win, but I'm leaning toward Apollo, but it's the thinnest of margins. And this one's a toss-up, but slight edge to Apollo, just because he's a newer champion, and I think they should give him a little bit more longevity in this title run before they snatch it.
All right, Apollo Crews. David Hero, you were once a huge fan of Apollo Crews. You saw him at the Future, and then he disappeared for 3 years.
I was. I mean, when they brought Apollo Crews up from NXT, I'm like, he has all the physical tools. He has great charisma. I thought he was going to be something special, and then he never saw a pay-per-view for like a year and a half or 2 years. I just look at Apollo Crews, and you think of the lineage of the United States champions. Does he fit that bill? I don't know. And then you look at Andrade, who there's dissension with Zelina Vega and Garza. They're not getting along, and you got to wonder, can Zelina get her team back on track? Which of the two do they want to run with? Do they want to run with Andrade as the U.S. champion, with Garza waiting for an opportunity to steal from him? Or is it going to be Andrade and Garza, racing each other to see who's going to be the Apollo Crews for the championship first? This match here, I really truly have no interest in whatsoever, which makes it even harder to pick a winner, because I think, again, both guys are just really stuck in neutral. But you got to believe that I think Garza is going to be the guy that Zelina Vega goes with in the end. And I think maybe Garza is the reason why Andrade loses. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, and Apollo Crews retains the U.S. championship at Backlash.
Wow, okay. All right, so either this is an easier card to book for the both of you, or it's an easier card for you to book Shane. And Dave, you're just picking all the same people Shane picked.
No, I'll be honest. I mean, I love the Iconics. I really think they should win, but they have unresolved stuff with the two of them. And then it's like with Apollo Crews, he's come out of nowhere, and now he's the U.S. champion. So it's just like they've obviously
He's had a couple good weeks, though. The thing that was missing from him was aggression. The thing that was missing from him was anger. And I've had these talks with him. I've had these personal talks with him. Say, dude, you've got to get mad out there. He's got a friendly face, got the Jimmy Yang face. Something that he looks so happy out there the whole time. You got to be angry. I need to see anger in your face. That's something that Apollo still needs to work on. He needs to work on his facials. He's got such a likable face that sometimes I don't believe it when he's struggling. Sometimes I don't believe it when he's in danger. He has to get angry. I told him, and I got text my phone do. Get mad. Stop the flips and punch somebody in the damn face. This sells. Nowadays, punch somebody in the mouth.
Yeah, and I agree. And
he's had a couple good weeks of aggression. Andrade's walked out of it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrade, they have given him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and it's just for some reason it's not clicking. So I think Apollo Crews is definitely the way that they have to go, and now let Garza be the next one in line.
All right, gents, thank you for that. Next matchup, and we've got two more to talk. One is for a championship, the WWE Championship. The other is being billed as the greatest wrestling match ever. That should be an interesting one for you guys to book, because you got to book it as the greatest match ever. Greatest wrestling match ever. But before we get there, let's talk about the defense of the WWE Championship by Drew McIntyre against a very formidable competitor in Bobby Lashley. Dave, you get first crack at how you would book this matchup here on Be The Booker.
This match it's an interesting story because Bobby Lashley in the last couple of weeks, his stock has completely risen. He's gone from being in a lame duck relationship with Lana to now having MVP bring a different side out of him. And then we go with Drew McIntyre, who was the Scottish psychopath, to now I'm just waiting for him to dress up as Santa Claus and take pictures with kids. It's like he's lost that edge that he had. And with both guys, one coming down, one going up, and of course there's rumor innuendo that Brock Lesnar will be at SummerSlam. This is the best match that they can have for both of them because physically, it's physically equal, athletically equal. Both guys it's like King Kong versus Godzilla. Both guys are going to be physical. They're going to go tooth and nail. It's going to be the best match Drew McIntyre is going to have in a long time, and the same thing goes for Bobby Lashley. The last time we saw Drew McIntyre, he wiped out Big Show, and he beat Brock Lesnar in like 4 minutes. Bobby Lashley, when we saw him at WrestleMania, he lost to Apollo Crews. So neither one has had any real momentum going forward, and that's why I believe this match is going to be a no decision. I think it's either going to be a double countout, a double DQ, or whatever, because this match needs to have a sequel. Because you can't be one and done with two guys that are legit ass-kicking badasses. And I have no problem with them setting up another match next month with a different stipulation and get more out of it. But for either one to beat the other right now, it does neither one any favors. So I'm going to go with a no DQ, no count out.
Huh. Is that a cop-out?
No, I think it's great booking.
I didn't even know we could do that. I thought we had to pick somebody. I think you're copping out.
Well, Shane, what would you do? Same thing, differently, and why?
I would not hate. I think what Dave said makes a lot of sense. Both of these guys, I could see this feud going on further. But I'm not going to cop out. I'm not going to take that cop out route. I'm going to pick, just to make it interesting. I'm going to pick Bobby Lashley winning.
Really?
Becoming the new champion.
And new champion? Really?
And new champion, yep. I think if they don't run with Bobby now, then it's never going to happen. I think if they don't run with Bobby either now or soon, you're sending a message that, hey, we're not going to run with this guy ever. Now that he's got MVP with him, he's got some reasoning behind it. There's been a shakeup in creative. I think WWE to get spicy. We're going to switch some things up here. And Drew can always win it back. Remember, you're a top guy with the second win. There's a lot of guys that have won a title that first time, and they were one and done. It's the second win that cements you as the guy. So Drew can always get this thing back. If Brock does come back at SummerSlam, good for him. I honestly don't have a lot of interest either way. Come and go. I don't really care. I care about the guys that are there all the time. And Bobby will be there all the time. And Bobby and Brock interest me way more than any other Brock match out there.
Absolutely.
You know what's interesting, Shane, is this a way to sort of so I was struggling a bit with you saying that you would want Bobby Lashley to win, because what does that do for Drew McIntyre? But could that almost be the perfect scenario for Drew McIntyre if he were to lose, yet get the rematch at SummerSlam where there may be an audience there and it may be on a grander scale, and then Lesnar and or Heyman, if it is that match, could come back and say, we lost unfairly. We were wrestling in a warehouse. That wasn't what we prepared for. Drew McIntyre, we get a second chance. And then you get that moment there that you didn't necessarily get all of at WrestleMania.
Well, keep in mind, WWE's message was that Paul Heyman was going to concentrate on being him. Him and Brock are going to be a tag team. That's what I think is going to happen.
Against Lashley and Lana?
For sure. For sure, that would be money. Not a lot of money, but it would be something. I don't know. I think with MVP out there, with MVP out there, there's a chance for some outside interference. There's a chance for Bobby Lashley, the heel, to win. Heaven forbid a heel heals a win. Just heaven forbid that happen. You know, to give Drew the excuse, give him something to talk about, give him something to fight against. Because Drew is like Braun. I mean, you got the two champions that are just these massive human beings that tower over everybody. You know, so with two people out there, I mean, physically, I don't know if he's pound for pound stronger than Bobby Lashley, but he's definitely taller. But I think when you got MVP out there, the odds are stacked against Drew.
Well, you know what? And if Bobby Lashley,
I think
if Bobby Lashley is going to become the new champion, I fully expect Lana to be involved in that finish then. Because why wouldn't she? What better way to get back in the good graces of her husband than to make sure he wins? You know, and then you have Lana, MVP, and Bobby Lashley. That's quite a threesome. And I think that could be a ton of heat. This is the Brazzers version of Be The Booker.
Keep it clean. Okay? Keep it clean, bro.
And what are we saying about Lana?
Oh.
Whoops.
But
I mean, for me, if
Lana
Bobby
can
Lashley
actually cause a distraction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lana can cause a distraction and cause Bobby to lose too. She's a factor.
Right. And the interesting thing is, Shane, is, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Lashley wins. I hope that they can drag it out longer. But going into WrestleMania, I was thinking, man, he's going to beat Brock and hold on to the belt for the year, because he has that kind of momentum and he has that kind of presence, and the fans are behind, the women are cheering for him, the guys are cheering for him, the kids are cheering for him. He's going to be money. And now, you know, 3 months later, we're talking that Drew McIntyre could possibly be losing his title at Backlash to Bobby Lashley. Who would have ever thought?
Yeah. If there was audiences, if there were fans in the building, we might not be having this discussion. But I think right now, because we can't capitalize on the fanfare that Drew had created for himself, and creative was part of that. Since we can't capitalize on that, now might be the time. This might be the reasoning. Let's put it on this hill. Let's keep people talking. Create a stable. You know, Lana being involved in that is interesting. It's not necessary, but it's interesting. It does add another element to it. And creating that little stable. So I like that. I like it even better now that you added Lana to the thing. I like that even better.
I mean, it's almost like Tully Blanchard when he had Baby Doll and J.J. Dillon.
Yes.
It was virtually unbeatable.
Yes.
So, you know, Shane, I think it was you, or maybe it was you, Dave, that mentioned the lineage of the United States Championship. And that got me thinking. You mentioned Tully Blanchard now. Run me through again the championships of the Horsemen. We know Ric Flair was always the world champ. Somebody was the TV champ. Somebody was the U.S. champ. And then there was another belt involved, right? What was the U.S.?
Arn Anderson or Tully Blanchard would rotate the TV champ, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. And then I believe Tully was the U.S. champ. And then usually Arn and Ole Anderson were the tag champs.
Yeah.
I always thought Tully was the TV guy. Oh, like more so than
when Luger came in, I think Tully had the national championship at one time. I think that might have been the first one.
The national.
Then the World TV came into play. Was Tully a horseman when him and Magnum had the I Quit match? Was he already a horseman at that point? Because if he did, that means he was the U.S. champion as well. Yep. Arn was never a U.S. champion. Arn was the TV champion.
Right.
You know what's so awesome, and Evolution did it to a degree. Thanks for answering that. But if someone did with the Horsemen now what the Horsemen did back then, with just basically rotating the championships through that faction, I think there would be a outrage amongst the wrestling fans of, again, people being shoved down our throats and favoritism. But it could not have been more brilliant for the Horsemen at the time that they did it, for them all to always be champions, because it just made that group so much more spectacular.
But they also had great baby faces chasing them.
Yeah, I hate when fans say they're shoving people down our throats. That's how legacies are created. If fans were talking about the NBAers down our throat, that's what legacies are. That's how you create a legacy. You don't create a legacy by winning 3 matches and then nobody ever sees you again.
Right.
But back then you had the Rock and Roll Express, Magnum, TA, Dusty Rhodes, even Ronnie Garvin, to a certain extent. Garvin. They had great baby faces chasing those heels. And it was just a great – Georgia Championship Wrestling, for me, was my favorite wrestling to watch back then.
Now, would a shoe be as lethal now as it was then for JJ? Because that shoe played a role in a lot of those finishes. Or did Austin Powers
kick out on one? They kick out on one today. They kick out on one and then nip up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they would. Absolutely.
All right, guys, one more match left to talk about on Backlash. Before we get to it, let's summarize what you would book the show as so far. That would be as follows. In the SmackDown Women's Championship, Shane Helms would go with booking the Iconics to walk out with the championships. Dave Hero would say Alexa Bliss, and Nikki Cross would do the same. Both of you would book Braun Strowman to win in the matchup, the handicap matchup against Miz and Morrison. Both of you would have Asuka retain the Raw Women's Championship over Nia Jax. And both of you, you, Shane, would have Sheamus defeat Jeff Hardy, whereas you, Dave Hero, would have Jeff Hardy defeat Sheamus for all the reasons you guys mentioned. Both of you see the light at the end of the Apollo Crews tunnel, and him walking out is still the U.S. champion. And no decision would be the way you would do it on Sunday, Dave, between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, and Shane Helms, the shocker, picking Bobby Lashley, booking Bobby Lashley to win that matchup. So with that, fans, we've got one more match. Before we get to it, I want to remind all of you that we're live again tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the Primetime Weekend Super Show. It's a super show with the entire PWR broadcast team. We're talking about a lot, including all the goings-on in wrestling this week. And also, we'll be giving you all of the latest views and news leading up to Backlash Sunday on pay-per-view. And before Backlash on Sunday on pay-per-view, it's PWR Sunday, Super Sunday Fun Day. You get this show, you get our Thursday edition of Primetime, and you get tomorrow night's edition of Primetime in a marathon broadcast Sunday afternoon leading up to Backlash on pay-per-view. And that all can be found on our YouTube channel. So now that I've sold everything I need to sell, except one thing you guys need to sell, which is, we've seen your shirt, David Hero, Planet of the Capes, but Iron Claw is back with the matching headband. Where can the fans look as cool as you guys do?
collarandelbowbrand.com. That's collarandelbowbrand.com. That's where you can get this. There's a bunch of wrestling related shirts. I say this all the time. I wear a Collar and Elbow brand shirt pretty much every single day. They feel good. They look good. What more do you need?
All right. And Dave, we've got also collarandelbowbrand.com, some great shirts, some great opportunities, a wide variety of products, including the all new PWR shirt that you debuted Thursday night on Primetime.
Yes, and don't forget to use the promo code PWR360 when you check out at collarandelbowbrand.com for all of your wrestling goodness. I mean, hey, it's street fashion in wrestling gear, the most comfortable shirt you're ever going to wear. And Shane, I think you'd agree, it just makes you look more jacked, especially in the delts.
Yeah, a little bit. The thighs pop out a little bit. I like that. They designed it for wrestlers. They designed it for things that wrestlers like. But Dave, your shirt in particular, this might be the best one you've won so far.
Exactly. It is. It truly is. How can you not love Planet of the Capes?
A friendly wager was levied, and next week, I think it's a fairly fair assumption, even though Dave took a safer route this week with picking who you picked. I think that we're going to see him and get another.
How do you think you're safer? We have 3 or 4 different outcomes.
You went with a no decision, which is okay, but you went with a no decision in one of the main matchups, so you could give yourself a bit of runway in case things don't go your way.
But it's still 3 different outcomes than what Shane has picked, and it might even be 4. It depends on which way we go with Edge and Orton.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, the final match, and Shane, you get the first booking opportunity in this match. It is the greatest wrestling match ever. At least that's what we're told it's going to be. Whew, man, this one's going to be tough. It's Randy Orton versus Edge in a rematch from their WrestleMania epic match. Greatest wrestling match ever. It's going to be hard to book, but Shane, you get the first crack at it.
I'm going to predict some shenanigans here. I think something's going to happen. I would like to see Randy Orton cheat to win this in a kind of despicable fashion, like something kind of super, it could even be super cheesy, but I want him to go on and proclaim himself as the greatest wrestler ever after this. Because if you win the greatest wrestling match ever, by default, the greatest wrestling match ever, if you win that, you must be. I don't see that being something that a baby face can say. I think that has to go to the heel. So I would see Randy Orton doing that. As much as I love these guys, if you think greatest wrestling match ever, you thinking Savage Steamboat, you thinking Flair Steamboat, stuff like that. I think these guys are better fighters. Definitely they can wrestle. Definitely they can throw some cool little chain spots in there. But when I think Edge, I think spear, I think punches, I think ladder matches, I think DDTs. I don't necessarily think drop toe holds and arm drags. He could surprise me without a doubt. But I look to see, I see Randy Orton pulling out a heel win here.
Wow. All right. Can't argue with that logic. Dave, it's your choice, your responsibility to do so. How would you book this matchup? The greatest wrestling match ever.
I just think that Edge needs this win more than Randy does. Not because he needs a new moniker or whatever, but if Edge loses, where does he go from here? How do you bring Edge back in 2 or 3 months for another program? I think he has to have some momentum behind him. Randy Orton can lose, much like Jeff Hardy, just about every match. Let's be honest. He lost 3 straight pay-per-view matches to Jinder Mahal. Did not once hurt his stock. And Jinder Mahal, he's as awesome as he was during that run. He wasn't an Edge. But Edge still, yes, he still has a lot more to prove. And you got to figure if Edge wins this, then maybe he gets into a title match contention against a Bobby Lashley if Bobby Lashley leaves Backlash. Maybe it's Edge versus Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam if Brock Lesnar is not going to be there. Who knows? But Edge definitely is going to be leaving Backlash the winner, and he will have the self-proclaimed greatest wrestling match of all time under his belt.
Ever. Forever, ever? And ever.
Forever, ever.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson.
Now this is the match. This is the match that you tried to cheat on anyway, right? This is the match.
No, not at all.
Get some insider info.
No, of course, absolutely.
Yes, you were
not.
on Thursday. Yes, you were on Thursday.
All I said was, I read online that the match was taped on Sunday or Saturday before NXT. That's all that I know. But the way I explained it makes me. put it this way, even if I knew, I explained it way better than any reason that they could ever give you as to why Edge would win.
Let me ask you this though. Edge won at WrestleMania, right?
Yes.
So how do you feel he has to win here or he's just done? Why do you think that? Because
that was his revenge match. He was fighting not only for himself but for his family. And I think he needs to win this. I mean, much like when The Rock beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania and then again at Backlash, I mean, Hogan didn't get it. I just think Edge needs it more to keep him going because Randy is a full-time wrestler if he wants to be. Edge will not be a full-time wrestler if he wants to be. So why would you have Edge lose to bring him back for another high-profile match when he couldn't win a regular match against Randy Orton? That's my reasoning behind it.
I don't know. I feel like even if he loses clean to Randy Orton, there's no shame in losing clean to Randy Orton. I don't think
I agree.
That's anything he can't overcome.
But then where does Randy go with that? I mean, I'm just looking for, okay, the match happens, then where does Randy go next month or 2 months from now, or where does he wind up at SummerSlam? Does he then is he on Raw or is he on SmackDown now? I have no idea where even he belongs. So, like, does that mean Randy Orton should then get a title shot against Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre? Or does he go on SmackDown and then have a match against Braun Strowman? Because let's be honest, there's nobody on either brand that is the caliber, name value, main event appeal of an Edge on either Raw or SmackDown right now. So for whoever wins that match should definitely elevate them to a title match from one of the big two.
I got you. But I'm now that I'm saying it in my head, I just love hearing Randy Orton call himself the greatest wrestler ever, and that's his new deal for a while.
Oh, and you know what? It makes perfect sense.
For forever.
No, I agree. I think, and he'd come out with a brand new T-shirt. Everything he does is the greatest wrestler ever. Just like when Shane McMahon said he was the best wrestler in the world, or whatever that was.
Oh, he had a trophy to show for it. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. You've made what is a lackluster card, in my opinion, a interesting card because you're showing several, depending on which booking sheet you guys look at, your own or the other. You're booking championships to change hands, stories to be told, and developments to be made going into the summer season of WWE. And Backlash comes to us Sunday night on the WWE Network. We want to, as we said, hear what you think, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to focus on just one match, maybe we'll do that. The greatest wrestling match ever. How would you book it and why? Share your comments here in the comments field. Go ahead and send us messages on Twitter and social media as well. At ShaneHelmsCom, at David Hero, at Damian Nelson, all on Twitter. And we look forward to hearing from you guys as well. We're going to figure out who did this best. This show will re-air on Monday before Raw, and the fans will get to see what you said versus what happened on the show, Dave.
Damian, there's 7 matches. Shane and I only agree on 3.
Your point?
I'm just saying it's gonna be a very interesting Sunday for Shane for the Hurricane and myself.
That it will be. As fans, as viewers of this show, first you, Shane, then Dave, what match are you most looking forward to seeing, most intrigued by on Sunday at Backlash?
I'm looking forward to the Bobby Lashley Drew McIntyre match.
Huh. Fascinating. David?
Yeah, I have to agree because I know Edge is going to win his match. I just want to know who's going to win now between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre.
Well, intrigue abounds Sunday at Backlash on pay-per-view. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, guys, for joining us as well, and viewers all over the wrestling world. We'll see you again tomorrow night for a brand new edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Super Show on Fight TV. That's F-I-T-E, Fight. For Shane Hurricane Helms and David Octavius, that guy. This is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow for Primetime at 7.